Hello, welcome back to another episode of Mac and D. I'm joined, as always, by James DK Metcalf. How you doing, James?
I'm doing well, buddy. I'm just sitting here wondering if you have paid your internet bill on time.
Dude, I have. It's the promotional price that I'm getting from Spectrum right now, which probably means that they nerf my internet at all times. Very unfortunate. This is take two, actually, for anyone that's listening. The other nickname I gave James today was James, District of Columbia. You were just telling me about how Springfield, Missouri is actually the best city you've ever been to. Tell us more.
That was exactly what I said. I was like, I loved sitting in the sun and 95-degree temperature for 4 hours straight to watch SMU at Mo State. Great use of a Saturday.
Yeah, and
Actually, I
you're
did. I did have a good time. I had a good time. Springfield chicken is fine. Not the greatest thing ever. Not the worst thing by any stretch of the imagination. Brahms is good ice cream.
Yeah, we hit all the staples, including watching Missouri State in the heat in an afternoon game that probably should have been a night game. Very cool to be a part of history, though. We went to the very first home game that was an FBS game for Missouri State while they were a member of the FBS. So that was pretty sweet. Played a lot better than we thought that they were going to play. Ended up only losing by 18, which is actually a pretty good improvement, especially given they gave up to 70 plus to USC just a couple of weeks prior. James, speaking of college football, how are you feeling about your Illinois Fighting Illini right now?
So we haven't had a huge test outside of Duke really just yet. I think this week's going to be huge, right? If we can go into Indiana, win by a couple touchdowns, that'll be a kind of a statement game, if you will, to show that we really do belong in the top 10.
Yeah, a lot of the talk around college football right now is the fact that there's no good quarterbacks, at least on the prospect side of things. I feel like it's a bit of a power vacuum, and I feel like Luke Altmaier is kind of getting to that top tier. How are you feeling about Luke Altmaier?
He delivers a great ball. I mean, he's going to be more of the Joe Burrow prototype than like the Patrick Mahomes prototype. I mean, don't expect some amazing scramble for 10 or 15. But expect on target, on rhythm, delivery of a good spiral. It's about what you're getting.
Yeah, we've been kind of seeing Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller, even all the guys who we kind of thought in this upcoming draft were going to be the guys kind of fall off a little bit. And we've seen your guy, Carson Beck, and Luke Altmaier also kind of move up some of the boards. It's going to be a weird quarterback class. Like I remember last year, around this time, people were like, "Oh yeah, don't draft a quarterback in 2025. It's bad. Just wait till 2026." And it's like, no, I'd just rather wait till 2027. 2026 is not going to be a super great class either. That is the danger of always saying, "Oh, just wait another year. Just wait another year." Especially with how many QB needy teams there are in the league. Speaking of QB neediness, we got scars and bars starting up. Starting with our scars, turf toe James. It's kind of having a moment right now. Joe Burrow going down with a turf toe injury, as well as Brock Purdy. This Joe Burrow injury is brutal. Does this knock out the Bengals out of playoff contention?
Well, they said it's a minimum 3 months, so you're talking 12 games Burrowless. They win half of them. That means they're at eight. Eight and four, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think like, or I guess 8-6. Like maybe he comes back in time to get him to 9-7 or 10-6, and that gives him a shot. But I think that's expecting quite a bit of someone to, get a surgery, get off the couch, get into the game, and all of a sudden just be playing playoff level football with, none of those reps. They might still get it. I mean, Jake's a serviceable backup, but yeah, I think the real, the real football implications are horrific. I think, the fantasy implications for Jamar and for T Higgins are pretty awful. Um, Maybe this is a net positive for Chase Brown, but probably not because really you just want the running back that's on a good offense, and their offense just got worse. So a lot of first through fourth round picks just became pretty meh at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, luckily or unluckily for the Bengals, Burrow's been hurt a lot in the past. Arguably one of the most injury-prone players in all of the NFL. I've been banging that drum for years, and people will keep calling me crazy, but I mean, Burrow objectively misses a lot of time, and with that, Jake Browning, their backup, has had a lot of run. Jake Browning, being the quarterback from Washington, led them to a CFP appearance back when it was only four teams, so it was a much more exclusive club back in the day. He's serviceable, man. I mean, he's up there. He throws a lot of yards. He's very Nick Mullins-like in that he's just a volume type of guy. And he's also very good in the fourth quarter. He's able to run some very good fourth quarter level offenses. It's really just kind of like that in between where he just throws some pretty ugly interceptions. But I feel like, honestly, this is where Zach Taylor really starts shining. He really is good at putting Jake Browning in very easy situations, very methodical, because that was the kind of quarterback Zach Taylor was back at Nebraska. You know, it was very, very simple type of passes. Um, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is just going to slowly but surely eat into the overall production of this offense. They're going to really have to start leaning on that defense, which is a very, very scary sight in a lot of ways. Brock Purdy also hurt. He missed this past week. How'd you feel about your boy Mac Jones getting the start?
But I think just any Shanahan quarterback is a startable fantasy asset, right? I mean, he's the quarterback whisperer.
Absolutely. And then we also, of course, have Josh Allen, who got hurt this past week. He left the game for a short amount of time, got checked out on the sideline, and then he came back and was kind of pedestrian. So we're kind of seeing a bit of a turnstile at quarterback. And that's just the injuries that we knew about coming out of the Sunday slate. Today, it was just murderer's row, man. It felt like Myles Garrett just like got up and started just whacking people. Like there was literally a quarterback graveyard going around the NFL here on Monday morning. First start with Jaden Daniels having some level of a leg injury coming out of that Thursday night game that we just didn't quite get a ton of look at, sounding like he is not going to be able to play this upcoming week. That's devastating for Washington, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Their office is predicated on Jaden making plays. So add in, I mean, Eckler out. So they're going to go backup quarterback, right? You're going to have to lean on rookie seventh rounder BCM and Chris Rodriguez. Like, could be a little bit of a pedestrian offense here for a week or two.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a little bit tough sledding against the Raiders, who we haven't seen yet play. We're recording here on a Monday evening prior to the Monday night football games. So yeah, we're going to see how the Raiders are looking in the back end of that. But yeah, you also mentioned that Austin Eckler is going to be out. He was kind of, their third down back, the guy who's going to be the receiving back, as well as more importantly for whoever's going to be coming in for the Commanders. He's also the guy who usually helps chip on the edge. He's kind of that good pass blocking guy. So we're going to see a lot of Marcus Mariota realistically going forward. It sounds like Jane Daniels' injury could even be a multi-week thing. This helps explain a lot of what we've been seeing with Jane Daniels, though. I mean, I think he's been kind of objectively disappointing. And I mean, you drafted him very highly, James. Like, who are you turning to at the quarterback position going forward if you drafted a Jane Daniels?
So you're going to have to debate between Mac, Browning. Okay, sorry, my brain usually goes to super flex where there's just no quarterbacks available. If quarterbacks are available, I think you put in a hell of a fight for a Daniel Jones. Um, I'm trying to think of like who's out there. Like if for some reason Herbert's out there still, like go get him at all costs. Yeah, Herbert, Daniel Jones, Gino.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like wrap my head around what one quarterback leagues are available versus Superflex. Superflex, it's like find the backup that you can muster cheering for on a Sunday and close your eyes.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of those riding the hot hands in a lot of ways, right? So you mentioned Geno Smith, who had a great game last week. We'll see what he does tonight. He's been sending out a lot of waiver wires. The top two guys in passing yards so far this season, we'll talk about this later, are is actually Danny Dimes and Russell Wilson. Dude, the Giants just know how to pick quarterbacks. So this is what we have always said. They just have an eye for quarterback talent. So yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of streaming of just who has good matchups realistically, basically whoever's playing the Dolphins on a given week, which is going to be a lot of people in the NFL coming up. And then, yeah, the other injury that we were also alluding to, which is also incredibly brutal, is the Minnesota Vikings. We saw JJ McCarthy on the broadcast. They were talking about how he got his high ankle area hit. Can be a devastating injury for a lot of guys. I mean, that's basically the injury that ended Odell Beckham's career in a lot of ways, depending on how severe it is. JJ McCarthy, it sounds like he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, which means it's Carson Wentz time. James, how we feel about Carson Wentz?
From whence he came, he shall remain, if you know what I mean. This is going to be rough, I think, for Vikings fans. Kevin O'Connell seems to really get the best out of his guys, but we've seen some pretty bad play out of Carson Wentz. If I'm Justin Jefferson, I might try to find a way to fake a 2 to 4 week injury here. Who knows? But um, maybe he gets fed. Maybe once Addison comes back in another week, they look a little bit better. They can stretch the field, but I wouldn't be holding my breath. Or that whole roster's been kind of banged up pretty ridiculously to start the season.
Yeah, these injuries seem to be kind of coming in pairs, as you're alluding to. Aaron Jones is also expected to miss this upcoming game. And we also, of course, have Darisaw, the left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings, who's also going to continue to miss some time recovering from his ACL injury from last year. So Aaron Jones' injury kind of was super brutal. It's a Jordan Mason show, right? Like we're going to actually see what he's made of going forward.
I mean, you can say show, but we've kind of seen that their push on the rushing side of the game is not exactly terrific. I mean, yeah, he'll get 20 touches, but they've been pretty uninspiring touches that we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, and I say it's Jordan Mason show. He had a couple of good runs last night going against the Atlanta Falcons when kind of got beat down by the Falcons. We'll get into that game here in our week 2 review. But I say it's the Jordan Mason show because there's nobody else on the roster. I mean, they all
Right. They're
the
they're they're a two running back team, and the other running back is gone.
Exactly. Like the thing with the Vikings is they usually have a good rotation of guys, thinking even all the way back to Jerick McKinnon. But their third string guy is Xavier Scott and Ty Chandler is on IR. So, I mean, they really are truly probably going to be going to free agency to try and get another running back just to be able to back up Jordan Mason on a serviceable level. CJ Ham, their fullback, is also on IR. So, just a very, very beat up team, just like you mentioned. Also on the injury front, we had Jalen Johnson, the star D-back for the Chicago Bears. He got a groin injury that might be potentially season ending. And then also on the fantasy side of things, we saw not two of fantasy players specifically, but probably most importantly for their offense, we saw two offensive linemen for the Carolina Panthers go down, Robert Hunt and Austin Corbett. That is their guard and center, respectively, excuse me. They are truly the heart and soul of that offensive line. Hunt just got paid $100 million by the Carolina Panthers, and Corbett also got a large contract. James, how are we feeling about Bryce Young and Chuba Hubbard's prognosis going forward? I mean, that whole offense is predicated on their ability to run.
Yeah, I mean, Chuba went 10 carries for 38 yards yesterday. I have a sneaking, interior offensive line. Like that's how you run in between the tackles. That's that initial push. They're gonna have to get pretty creative with how we get some touches here to Chuba, get him out in space. But we're gonna see a lot of chuck it, hope Tet just make something happen type plays. I think going forward.
Yeah, we saw basically Chuba Hubbard just salvage his day with a receiving touchdown. And Bryce Young, honestly, he only had a good day because of game script, because they need to throw the ball a million times because he got sacked in the very first possession, ended up having a fumble that Zaven Collins returned for a touchdown for the Cardinals. And yeah, I mean, we just ultimately see that this team needs to stay on schedule if they're going to be successful and if they're going to win games. And having your top two guys go out for at least half the season, both of them are going on IR, is not a good way to start the year by any means. It might be over in Carolina before we even got it started, which I think is going to ultimately lead to some really uncomfortable conversations in Carolina. I mean, if they want to go quarterback this upcoming draft, I mean, if they fall to, a 3-win, 4-win team again, they're going to be up there at the top of the draft and might be in line to draft a guy very, very highly. James, did you hear any good bars from anyone this past weekend? Anything from Tom Brady? Any tidbits from him that you enjoyed?
I don't know where he just talked about how poor the NFL is at developing quarterbacks, but it's not like quotable. It's more of just like it shows why he was so good at the sports between the way he studied the game with Bill and with all of his various offensive coaches. So that's kind of neat to see is an interview with Colin Cowherd, which also the best part is Cowherd shuts up when Tom talks. It's like the only person that gets Cowherd to stop talking. So Tom's the best guest for that show. But I don't have any, one liners the way you're about to hit us here.
Yeah, no, this is our scars and bars section, so we gotta have our best bars. I think my favorite Tom Brady bar was whenever he made a comparison to Dikembe Mutombo when there was a swat by a D-back, and Kevin Burkhardt was just gassing him up. He was like basically gentle parenting Tom Brady, who is still very new to the announcing game. He's just like, "Yeah, man, great reference. Like, I can't believe you just pulled that one out. Just out of thin air. Like, way to think. Really be on your feet." It was pretty funny watching KB get really excited. But my favorite bar of the weekend actually came from Jonathan Vilma, who was actually just like struggling over his words all game long. He was announcing the Lions versus Bears game, and he said, Caleb Williams needs to be a point guard, not a shooting guard. And I thought that was an absolute bar and really just describes how the first 2 weeks have gone for the Chicago Bears, where it's like, hey, man, we don't need you turning the ball over every single time. We need you having 9 assists and zero turnovers. That's how we're going to be able to win games. I thought that was a pretty apt analogy. Truly a bar. All right, James, we're getting to one takeaway from every game, relatively rapid fire, starting with Thursday night, Commanders Packers.
Yeah, after another insane stat line from the Packers, I think outside of Jordan Love, right, Kraft and Jacobs are the only startable Packers.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this was the Tucker Craft show. There was a point in the game they showed up on the graphic that Tucker Craft was out receiving all the commanders. He had more yards from scrimmage than all the other commanders combined. It was kind of sad on the commander side, but honestly, just super impressive on Tucker Craft. I mean, his ability to create even after the catch and also just find those pockets deep in the zone where he's able to just get wide open. It's very Kelsey-like. And he's only in his like second or third year in the league at this point. Very, very impressive. And yeah, the Josh Jacobs running was also incredibly impressive. Big win over, a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year. Really kind of shows it's in the NFC at least, it's the Packers and probably everybody else at this point. Back to back huge wins for them. Sunday, Bears Lions.
All right, are you back?
Yeah, Bears Lions.
Okay. Yeah, Bears D, fantasy field day, start everyone. Everyone is startable against the Bears.
Yeah, until they get that defensive backfield healthy and actually get some semblance of a pass rush outside of Josh Sweat, it's kind of easy pickings. I want to say that I feel like the funeral that everybody had for the Lions defense was a little bit overblown. I was also a little bit guilty of it. I was clamoring, yearning even for Ben Johnson after week one. But hey, we really put it to him. There was a lot of showboating going on in this game as well. There was a lot of like Dan Campbell wanting to prove that, hey, everything is going to be through me. It wasn't all just Ben Johnson. Some of it was at least because of me. And yeah, they showed out and we're really putting it to the Chicago Bears. I saw a stat that now we have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's been 9 such instances where all three of them scored a touchdown in a game. It's the most in NFL history from three teammates where they all three scored a touchdown in a game. Very impressive. Very impressive. Their ability to just generate offense. JMO was on point doing JMO things. Got 2 receptions for 100 yards, just 2 deep balls and nothing else. Love that from JMO, and that's why you pay him the 20+ million that they just paid him. And then I also want to shout out our rookie tackle, Tyleik Williams. He was getting awesome, awesome pressure on that D line, really allowing Aiden Hutchinson to do what he needs to do. Of course, they're aided by Caleb Williams holding onto the ball way too long. But hey, it was a very impressive performance from a team that has an ability to put up points realistically. So very, very fun, good bounce back game.
Amazing how our quick points really stretched out on this Lions game.
Hey man, your game's coming up here in two. Chill, chill, chill. We got Rams Titans.
Yeah, Nakua clearly has a path to being wide receiver one on the season.
Yeah, that was also my takeaways. Like the leap is coming for Puka Nacua if it's not already here. Back-to-back weeks where hey, he was awesome. It feels like every year there's like kind of like a new guy that kind of starts clamoring to be wide receiver one. Like Nico Collins kind of took that leap last year. I feel like Puka Nacua is kind of just trying to make his claim right now. Okay, James, you have fun. Patriots Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy like you. I'm just going to just say it. Not that it was obvious. Pats are the Dolphins D worst defense in the NFL, right? You're starting everyone against them. That group is horrendous. The Patriots defense might be second or third behind them though. That is also not a great group.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a little showboating you can do here. The Drake May feel pocket presence had multiple awesome plays in this game. That one play that he had where he stepped up in the pocket, threw a fingertip throw to Ramondre Stevenson, who then went for 50 yards downfield. That was one of the best plays of the entire season. Whenever you start breaking it down, and it's not just like a lapse in defensive coverage. How encouraged have you been about his progression in year two so far?
So far, so I mean, it's only 2 games, right? But if he's missing high, which isn't what you want. But he, you've seen we need an opponent that's in the middle of the road to get a good vibe here.
Yeah. We also got the picture of the year. I feel like that picture of Antonio Gibson running with Mike Vrabel down the sideline. Gibson, of
Incredible.
course, doing a kickoff return touchdown right after the Dolphins had one of their own. Super fun. It was a great game. Obviously, you probably didn't want it to be as close as it ultimately was, but from a third party perspective, it was a fantastic game. Really puts the Patriots season back into the driver's seat. For a bit there, it looked like that the Patriots were going to drop to 0-2, and this season was going to be another lost one. But that was very, very huge for your guys' AFC East hopes. Browns, Ravens.
Yeah, I think Judkins, barring suspension, is on his way to 30 touches a game. He looked the best running back, as advertised, and that they look pretty comfortable feeding him the ball. I mean, you got 10 carries after missing all offseason work.
Yeah, he was a beast. And it's not surprising, right? Like we knew Judkins was good. We had him very, very highly rated coming out of Ole Miss and Ohio State. And he was awesome this past week. And it was crazy because it was off of like 3 days of practice. He had barely been around the team because he had just signed his contract. So that was my takeaway too, is the RIP Dylan Sampson season, 2025 week one to 2025 week one. He
I think
looked,
there's still room for Samson. I think Ford's the one that's going to be the odd man out sooner rather than later.
yeah, but do you really want to be like having stock in three different Cleveland Browns running backs? Like, I feel like you kind of just have to pick a horse and run with it, a little bit with that backfield.
Yeah, I mean it's Judkins and then change the pace Samson. You drop Ford here pretty soon.
Yeah, it was crazy too because Judkins obviously had an awesome game. Was averaging like 5, 6 yards per carry. He was only getting 1.7 yards per carry before contact, and he was just running through people like crazy. So he had one run where he basically did like a spin off of two defenders, just kept running, going through arm tackles, and made it way, way downfield against a very good Ravens rush D, which was very impressive. Jaguars, Bengals.
I just have Rip Joe, unfortunately. I mean, that just is a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bengals got the win after he went down, but and this is ultimately going to hurt a lot of things when it comes to the Bengals. And I mean, a lot of people drafted Joe Burrow very, very highly. I had noted, hey, huge Jamar Chase bounce back game. A lot of people needed that with him, especially going first overall. He had 11 catches, 130 plus yards, and got a touchdown, which was massive for him. The weird thing for this game is through 2 games, it's looking like BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., the star receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's looking like a bust so far. Really just being very, very anti-contact, not being on the same page with Trevor Lawrence. Is not really getting touches, and it feels like anytime Trevor Lawrence tries to target him, it's just way, way off. What's going on with him so far this year?
I see. I don't know what's going on because I just haven't watched Jags games, but the vibe definitely is just zero rapport with Trevor Lawrence. We might need to get Konski on here to do a full synopsis of this Jag offense because there's weird pieces of fantastic fantasy assets, but it's not the way you thought it'd be, right? Like the fact they shipped Tank out of town, the fact that ETN might be the sleeper steal of the year, even though everyone knew who he was. Um, Hunter getting more targets than BTJ, like they're a weird team, kind of a fun team, but might be interesting to see what a Jags fan has to say about this.
Yeah, it's funny because like against literally Trevor Lawrence's rapport with everybody else, it's clicking, right? He has 100 plus passer rating when throwing to Parker Washington, to De'Ami Brown, by Tootin, literally all the backups. But as soon as he wants to target Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter, it drops to like 20. And like spiking the ball into the ground is like a passer rating of 40. And it's like, how are you this far off with your guys that you've been working with all offseason long? Liam Cohen is an offensive guy. He needs to get that figured out sooner rather than later. 49ers and Saints.
Yeah, again, Shaney QB, you have to start him. He just knows how to put his guys in the right position, right? There was never a point in that game where Mac looked uncomfortable. And we saw Purdy kind of look uncomfortable the week before. Like Mac definitely stepped in. I mean, it's nice when your backup has 2 or 3 seasons of starting in the NFL. But it didn't look like other than one play, he had like one rush where it's like, Mac, you're doing too much. Like, dude, just play your game and people will be fine. But what, 3 for 290 and 3 touchdowns? Like that's how you keep getting backup jobs, and that's how you get a chance to start again in the NFL. Like Shanahan knows what he's doing, and honestly, just tip your cap to Mac for not doing too much, not making the bad throws, things like that.
Yeah, it's the Saints. They got the dub against the Saints. You can't get mad about, who you're playing against as long as you're getting those dubs at the end of the day. Um, I put a little bit of a deeper cut here. I said that realistically, Luke Farrell might be the tight end to own in San Francisco. He had similar target share as Jake Tonges, who everybody kind of assumed would be the guy to replace George Kittle. Luke Farrell got a touchdown this past week, as well as just had multiple catches, looked really good on the edges there. So Luke Farrell might end up being kind of a guy to monitor, especially if you had a Mark Andrews, who we'll talk about later, kind of just get a guy that's actually getting some receptions. Bills Jets.
I mean, the Bills are as advertised. I really just kind of put like if you signed up for Jets players, this is what your season's going to be, right? Fields is going to be a coin toss of that offense either clicks and everyone feasts, or Fields plays like absolute dog water, and you're getting 5 points out of Brees, 5 points out of Garrett, 5 points out of Fields, right? Like I mean, like that's the Justin Fields experience. So, welcome aboard.
Yeah, I knew I was forgetting someone in scars and bars at the tip. And yeah, it's Justin Fields who's in concussion protocol. He played terribly, came back to earth incredibly quickly, and the Bills just shredded the Jets. I put here that maybe the Bills are actually just the new Death Star in the NFL. They are looking awesome so far, beating up on the Ravens and the Jets in back-to-back weeks. Jets looked awesome against the Steelers, and they couldn't get anything going this past week, especially on that offensive line that looked so good in week one. And then James Cook on the opposite end just shredded them as well. So this is an ugly, ugly game for New York. Seahawks, Steelers.
Steelers D legitimately bad. We talk about that Jets team, right? That Jets team shredded the Steelers. Oh, it's week one, whatever. Seahawks, who put up 7 points, 10 points week one, just dropped it on them. Like the Steelers defense special teams group, not good.
Yeah, they look undisciplined, which is really weird for a Mike Tomlin team. That's not what we've been used to over the last decade and a half. So they're very, very strange all the way around for the Pittsburgh Steelers. On the other end, though, obviously the Seahawks got the win, so they can't be too upset. Can we get more Kenneth Walker to the third, please? I'm incredibly tired of the Zach Charbonnet experience, the whole experiment with these, two running backs that are supposedly equal. We had absolute awful Zach Charbonnet game this past week. It was literally like one of the worst stat lines I've ever seen. 15 carries for 10 yards. Zero point 0.7 yards per carry, James. And he got a majority of
Okay.
the snaps once again. He had 60+% of the snaps versus Kenneth Walker only getting 36%. I don't really understand what they're cooking here, especially with how good of a game Kenneth Walker had. He had 100 plus rushing yards and actually had a good yards per carry that was above one, James. That's the bar. That's the bar. Just get over 1 yard per carry. I would love for them to truly get a bell cow in Kenneth Walker and quit trying to avoid the injury or whatever that they are saying in the media.
Yeah. I'm also like, let's take a step back. Is JSN kind of a sneaky top three receiver candidate this year? I mean, I know people are drafting him higher and higher, but like, homie might get 15 targets a game, like the entire season. Like that's Nakua numbers, and that's why everyone loves Puka so much. Like JSN's getting the same thing, and you got him in the fourth round instead of the second.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the Sam Darnold experience a little bit, right? Like he loves to force feed his top target. Vikings let him go. Could use him right now, let's be honest, after going 14-3 last year. If we're looking at the top receiving yards in the league right now, still pending the Monday night games, number one, League Neighbors, not a surprise, but number two is JSN. So that's very, very impressive so far for him. Next up, we got Giants Cowboys.
Juan Dale is the truth, man. Take your victory lap on him, a 26-year-old that's just putting up some serious numbers. Like the league had the bigger catches, but Juan Dale was just open the whole game and put up an underwhelming 120 yards and a touchdown because CD and Malik popped off this game.
Yeah, and they need a number two receiver to emerge that isn't just, no offense to him, boring ass Darius Slayton. And Wendell's the guy. I mean, he's twitchy as hell, and they definitely need him to pop off. And he was all reliable for Russell Wilson all game long until we had the awesome moonshot from Russell Wilson to Malik Neighbors to ultimately force the game to overtime. That game was electric. I mean, obviously Ravens Bills was the game of the year, but like this was pretty much as close as you could get to a number two. Giants really shit the bed in overtime. I was really expecting some more fireworks as soon as we
Well,
got
both
over to
teams
it.
that the fourth quarter was like 40 points. And then you're like, there's no shot. Like both teams are gonna score a touchdown in overtime. This is gonna be insane. It's like both teams had two possessions, or like I think the Cowboys had like their third
Third,
possessions when they finally scored.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought maybe it's gonna be a tie. I was just laughing the whole time.
they were showing like Brian Burns, who is also one of the top guys in sacks for this season. He was just like literally hands and knees the whole time and overtime. Everybody was just gassed. But yeah, it was a bit of a sad sack effort. Brandon Aubrey, though, dude, we don't talk about kickers much on this pod. 23 fantasy points coming from Brandon Aubrey, including a 64-yarder. Cowboys are fun, man. They may not be good, but they are definitely fun. Broncos, Colts.
I'm pretty upset with the Broncos for reasons you and I have already discussed because I was like, oh, that's the lock. Like I've talked so much shit on the Colts. I almost owe them an apology. Uh, but Jones might actually win you your league at this rate. Like the Broncos would have been your test, and he's doing fine. I still think the fall to earth happens at some point, but we shall see. JT is definitely going to win leagues though. Like you're getting him mid third round up to fourth round in some spots, and like he's going to get 25 touches a game. Like he's doing it against good defenses, bad defense. It doesn't matter. Like he looks healthy. He looks great. He's going to just destroy some people.
Yeah, he's already a legend. Some of the jump cuts that he had, JT, on Sunday, he literally looked like a Madden player out there. It didn't even look real. He was incredibly impressive. And yeah, I mean, Colts, man, it's a full nay ahead at this point. Tyler Warren also is showing that he belongs as a top five tight end in this league going forward, especially for fantasy. Whenever you're looking at the advanced statistics, Tyler Warren is number one in the league in targets per route run percentage, and he's number two in the league in yards per route run, only behind Tucker Kraft. It's literally him and Tucker Kraft are the top guys so far, and that is showing in the overall results. Danny Dimes loves him some tight ends. Eagles, Chiefs.
You just have no offensive talent right now, right? With Worthy and Rice gone. I mean, Kelsey is cooked. Tyquan Thornton's getting like 6 targets a game, and they're all moonshots, right? So it's like not even 50-50 balls. It's like 30-70 balls that he's converting a little bit, but that is not a fun team to watch at the moment, other than like Mahomes just running for his damn life and turning it into like 80 yards and a touchdown every week. But it's tough right now for the Chiefs. I think they'll be fine because that defense is obviously very good. They just held the Eagles to 20, but until Rashid's back, like the second Rashid comes back, he's wide receiver 5 on the season. Like he's going to get 20 targets a game because there's no one else to throw the football to.
Yeah, they're waiting on all those guys to come back. And I've kind of been saying it ironically, kind of tongue in cheek, that Mahomes is the best rusher on that roster. But like Pacheco ain't doing nothing. Neither is Kareem Hunt. Both of those guys, low key, might be droppable in fantasy going forward. And it seems like Matt Nagy's whole plan is to take that 225-pound Patrick Mahomes and just use him as a battering ram and try and get 4 or 5 yards per carry that way. And it's like, dude, why are you doing that to your $50 million man? It's so confusing. I hate the whole offense right now. And the Eagles defense is really cooking. They're really at a different speed level. And literally every single guy on the edge there is truly a weapon. Eagles are looking pretty solid so far. Panthers, Cardinals.
Yep. Kyler showed why he's a good fantasy asset, but impossible to watch because he is so frustrating. Game in and game out. But really, like Ted is God mode, dude. I think he had 3 not catches just because the ball was thrown so poorly. like he caught it out of bounds that were him just absolute Jordan pose mossing people to one handed. Like Ted is damn good, and you and I were both kind of low on him. We were wrong. Ted is very good.
Yeah, and I mean that works out well for fantasy because I mean you can get him at a pretty good value realistically. Obviously, some people are starting to catch on to his abilities, but right now it's exactly like you're saying. Bryce Young is just going to be throwing 50-50 balls to him on the sideline, and that's all they're going to have time for because he's going to get pressured early and often. On the other,
Would you roster Renfro? Would you roster Renfro?
no,
I mean,
don't
seven
think so.
receptions, 2 touchdowns.
I know. It feels miragey to me. It doesn't really feel
Okay.
like it's an actual thing. I just don't really want much of that Panthers offense. And in that same vein, Xavier Legette, their first round pick, or maybe he's early second
I think
last
he's
year. I
an
really can't
early
remember.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, the Patriots just traded away Jalen Polk, and I really feel like the Panthers should be looking to do the same thing with Legette going forward. He had 8 targets this past week, James, and had negative yards.
Not
Negative
great.
receiving yards on 8 targets. Insanity. Dude is unfortunately just not a fancy asset at this point. Last game, Sunday Night Football, Falcons Vikings. We had the field goal fest, is what they're calling it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I will say this tongue in cheek, obviously, but JJ and Penix are as advertised because they're both kind of the meh quarterbacks for that draft class.
Yeah, they are truly some of the bigger projects. Like we knew that like Bo Nix is going to be like ready to go because he's just so old. We knew that like, hey, realistically, we're gonna have Jane Daniels and Drake May doing their thing. But these are the more the project dudes. Penix definitely has his moments, but then there's like 7 straight passes where he's just like 4 yards off, just airmailing balls. Very, very frustrating. That was a tough watch on Sunday Night Football, and I kind of figured it might end up being like that. Vikings should not be on prime time going forward. James, waiver claims, cutter off, and panic button. You want to run us through each one real quick?
Yeah, so I guess the person I did kind of forget for one quarterback league is Jared Goff if you've got a bad injury. Troy Franklin, monster game for the Broncos. Did everything you would want out of a Cortland Sutton, right? And then De'Ami Brown. Cut her off. Evan Ingram was supposed to be the truth in Denver. Dude doesn't touch the field. It's wild, right? Like you probably keep him because tight ends are just bad, and he is a starting tight end, but that's tough. Xavier Legette, gone. Braylon Allen, you're never starting him. You never will feel comfortable starting him. He's a drop candidate. And then you have to panic on Pacheco slash Kareem Hunt if you're starting Kareem Hunt for some reason. Um, Probably panicking on Kelsey a little bit, maybe not just because he is getting red zone targets. You have Matthew Golden here. Any receiver that's wearing Packers green, you can't start them. Like he throws the ball to 12 different targets that are all really good wide receiver twos. Mark Andrews, unstartable. Colston Loveland is playing left tackle right now. Like you can't play him. And you probably drafted him before Tyler Warren. That was like the ADP for some godforsaken reason. But yeah, I would drop Loveland for Komet. Komet's getting targets.
Exactly. And so, yeah, you really just can't trust Colson Lovin. He's just a fun gadget player that's just running out there doing cardio at this point. I think the hard part with Golden, too, is like you're kind of expecting him to be a second half guy, but like there's just no indication that he's actually going to get any routes to run realistically. Romeo Dobbs seems to be the guy that you want to go pick up in Green Bay right now after the Jaden Reed injury. That's going to realistically hold him out for half the season. I wanted to bring this up, dude. I was making graphics last night with Evan Ingram for our cutter off section, right? Evan Ingram last year has this like huge widow's peak going on, right? Like the worst hairline you've ever seen. It's just holding on by a thread. And like we have no room to talk, right? But it's like, dude, like the line's not looking good. New picture this year with the Broncos, right? Last year was Jaguars pick. This year is a Broncos pick. It's just like a crispy line. Like it's perfectly flat. I'll literally like I'll show up the pictures to you after this, and it's like, how, man? Like you
I
went to
just looked it
Turkey for
up. Yeah,
sure, right, man? Like you definitely got some treatment of some sort. So incredibly funny, incredibly funny.
he
Okay,
needs to be on a Hims commercial. Act like that's what did it.
that's what I'm saying. All right, my internet's crapping out, so we will see you
So,
all next week.
uh, see you, squad.